everyone, Miko here with Behavior Analyst Supervisor. Thank you for joining us for our free Wednesday Zoom calls. Here you're watching on YouTube, but you could also join us on Wednesday. If you're interested in the link to these calls to join live, feel free to send us an email at info@behavioranalystsupervisor.com. You can also just check out our Instagram. We post questions every single day on Instagram. We also post the link to our free Zoom calls. Every Wednesday, we go through a different task list item area, such as A1. We'll talk a little bit about that task list item, and then we'll go through 3 mock exam questions relating to that task list area. We hope that this provides an opportunity for you to learn a little bit more about the task list and also dive deep into question dissection. We here at Behavior Analyst Supervisor really focus on providing explanations on why an answer is correct and why it's also incorrect. So we appreciate that you joined us. If you have any questions throughout the duration of this video, feel free to shoot us an email, hit that like and subscribe button for more information. Also, you can always leave a comment and we'll be sure to reach back out to you. Thanks again, and I'm Miko with Behavior Analyst Supervisor. You'll also be hearing from Amy and Kevin. Talk to you soon.
Hey everyone, Miko here with Behavior Analyst Supervisor. Welcome to another installment of our free Wednesday Zooms. I hope everyone is doing well. We had our task list weekend this past weekend. I think it went really well. So we'll be posting some more videos on YouTube. I have a couple of videos scheduled to go out, so we'll be posting those in the next little bit. Stay on the lookout for that. Today, we're going to be talking through one of those concepts that I find gets taught incorrectly a whole lot. And so I want to make it a little bit easier. I'm going to use the Cooper definition, and then we're going to go from there. But like I said, my name is Miko. For those of you who this might be your first time here, I appreciate you joining us. We do free Zoom every single Wednesday. We cover a different topic. We typically post the topic to our Instagram page the day of. We also post questions every single day on Instagram. So if you ever have questions, if you ever want us to go over a specific topic, just email us. We're happy to do that. We're here to support you throughout your journey. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and get started. There will be time for questions at the end. I am going to turn my camera off because Zoom is weird and records my screen differently when my camera's on. So I'll turn it back on after I present. But for now, let's do it. Cool. So like I said, we are talking through count versus rate. Count and rate are 2 of the concepts that are extremely similar. And like I said, I find that they get taught incorrectly a lot of the time. And so we want to make it just a little bit easier for you to understand. First and foremost, what you need to understand is that count and rate both fall under the repeatability dimension of behavior. So there's 3 dimensions, 3 temporal dimensions of behavior, or of measurement, I should say. First, there's repeatability. Repeatability includes count or frequency, which is the same thing. It also includes rate, and it includes acceleration. Now, there's also temporal extent. Temporal extent includes duration, and there's temporal locus. Temporal locus includes IRT and latency. So those are our temporal dimensions. When we talk about rate and count, they're a little bit different, right? So we're going to go through each, and I'll hint at acceleration. But first, we'll start with count. The definition of count, and this is extremely important. This is directly from the Cooper book. This is where we get messed up a whole lot. The definition of count: a simple tally of the number of occurrences of a behavior. The observation period or counting time should always be noted when reporting count measures, directly from the Cooper book. We always try to go to the source because that's the most accurate. So when we see examples like Kai barked 18 times in an hour, you will see some materials that list this as rate. That is incorrect. This is count. This is a simple tally, 18, and the observation period. Again, if you go to the back, go to the index of the Cooper book, read the definition out of the glossary, this is exactly what it's going to state. Some other examples: Joe Burrow has thrown 82 passes in his career. We're talking about an observation period, his current career, and a tally of the number of touchdowns that he's thrown. That is going to be a count. And then our last example, Trevor ran 18 miles in a day. So the observation period is a day. The number of miles he ran is 18. This is going to be a count once again. So these are all counts. Now let's go ahead and look at rate. But before I do that, last time, I want it to be very clear. Count is a simple tally of the number of occurrences of a behavior. The observation period or counting time should always be noted when reporting count measures. Extremely important. Next, we have rate. The definition of rate, a fundamental measure of how often a behavior occurs, expressed as count per standard unit of time and calculated by dividing the number of responses by the standard units of time during the observation period. In short, rate is frequency over time, frequency over time. So we need that we need that on average in order for it to be a rate. And typically rate is displayed as a ratio, which is just this divisional measure. So when we see this example, Miko caught 4 fish per hour. That per makes it a rate. Tina casts 10 patients per day. That per makes it a rate. Wanda reads 52 books per year. That per makes it a rate. Now, per is not the only thing that makes it a rate. What makes it a rate is its frequency per time. Frequency per time, frequency per time. You're always looking for frequency over time. It's extremely important. So again, count is a simple tally with an observation period noted, whereas rate is frequency divided by time, frequency divided by time. So that's the key difference there. Extremely important quote. If you can't measure it, you cannot improve it, right? So basically the reason why we want to use these different measures is for us to accurately track a behavior. If we cannot accurately track the behavior, we don't know if it's increasing or decreasing, that's an issue. We have to be able to measure a behavior and we have to be able to monitor improvement or if the behavior is regressing. Those are all important critical elements. Rate is typically going to be better than count. The reason for that is because you're getting a more clear picture of the behavior. Rate is going to tell you how frequently across standard observation periods the behavior is happening. So you're really going to be able to tell that kind of acceleration and deceleration, which we get into acceleration. Acceleration is simply how rates change across time. But that's what we're ultimately looking at, is how the behavior changes. And so rate is going to allow us to do that better than other measures that might not provide such a clear picture, such as count. Okay, cool. Now we're going to get into, I think I have 4 scenario questions for you. So let's jump in to the first one. You have recorded your client's tantrum behavior and noticed that they engage in 15 minutes of tantrum behavior per session. This measure is best described as a or an rate, count, percentage, or IRT. Please put your answer in the chat. All right, so this is a bit of a tricky one. If you got this one wrong, we have another video on our YouTube channel. It's called Rule Breakers. I would highly recommend you go in and watch that video. It's short as well, maybe 10 or 15 minutes. But the reason why a lot of you picked rate, and a ton of you did, is because of this per, okay? Per is a keyword in rate, but it's not the only thing I want you to look for. That is no good. I want you to look for frequency per time. Here we have 15 minutes. This is duration. This cannot be a count, or sorry, it cannot be a rate because it's duration per session, which is time, can't be rate. It also can't be count because I don't have a count. I don't know how many times the behavior happened. I don't have a tally. It's clearly not IRT because IRT is time between consecutive instances of the same behavior, which we don't have here. So this is a little bit tricky. I did start with the tricky question, but this is going to teach you to really dissect and analyze the questions. If you pick rate, one of our key test taking strategies is to take your answer back to the scenario and make sure it works. And what I mean by that is if you see rate, you should go up here and say, okay, rate is frequency per time. Do I have a frequency? You would say no, and that would immediately allow you to eliminate rate. So we don't have that. The answer to this is percentage. Percentage is a derivative measure, meaning you can get it from frequency or you can get it from duration. Percentage is just same over same. So here would be time over time, same over same. Therefore, it would be percentage. This could also be duration. Obviously, 15 minutes is duration, but most specifically, the answer to this one is percentage. But yeah, if we just saw 15 minutes, it would be duration for sure. Cool. This was the tricky question. This is the one to like catch you, make sure you're paying attention, tell you to go watch the rule breakers one. If I was a fancy YouTuber, I'd figure out how to put the little button up here. I don't know how to do that. So if you do, send me an email. Here we go. Next question. Wilson and Hank were stranded on a deserted island for a great period of time. Hank ate 17 burgers in an hour after he was rescued. This behavior is a rate, count, duration, acceleration. All right, so we're split between rate and count. Remember, if we were to go back to the definition of, I'm going to give you the answer. The answer to this is count. But if we were to go back to the definition, count, and I do want to go back because a few of us didn't get it, which is okay. But the definition of count, a simple tally of behavior, a simple tally of the number of occurrences of behavior, the observation period or counting time should always be noted. So when I go back to that slide 9, we see 17 burgers in an hour. This is our simple tally. This is our observation period. This is not a rate. And I know some of you might have been taught that it is. I apologize. That is wrong. That is not correct. The Cooper book, the definition that I just cited, tells you that count is a simple tally plus the observation period. And that's what we have here. That's what we have here. So that's kind of where we go. Hank ate 17 burgers in an hour. For this to be rate, Hank ate 17 burgers per hour. For this to be a duration, it took Hank 17 minutes to eat 17 burgers. For it to be acceleration, it would talk about how many burgers he ate each hour and if that increased or decreased. So that's kind of where we go there. Next question. While observing your client during social engagement and play, you track their instances of spontaneous communication. Which of the following measures do you likely use? Count, rate, acceleration, or duration? Okay, cool. So there's a lot of different answers in the chat. Most people are leaning towards A and B, but I do have a couple of durations. So what are we tracking here? We're tracking instances, right? So eliminate duration. It doesn't say we're tracking like duration of spontaneous communication or something like that. It's saying instances. So we would not use duration, right? There's certain things in the scenario that are going to allow you to eliminate answers. So that doesn't work. Acceleration is not the answer here, so that doesn't work. Next, we need to look at count and rate. Clearly, it seems like we can use either of these. When you can use either, what should we choose? You should choose rate. Rate is going to provide a more clear picture than count. When you have the option to pick either, you should go with rate. Now, if it's telling you like which one did they use, then sure, count could be an answer. But here it's asking which measure do you use or would you use? And we should use rate over count. Again, it provides a more clear picture. It's simply a better measure, and that's something I certainly want you to remember. So rate is better than count because it provides a more clear picture of the behavior. When you can choose both, always, and I don't even like saying always, but always pick rate when you can use both. Cool. Last question. Aaron engages in self-injurious behavior incessantly. You would like to track the behavior in order to determine if your intervention is effective or not. What measure should be used? All right, so lots of answers in the chat. Again, we're pretty split. Most of us are between B and D, rate and duration. So this is another one of those tricky ones, so I apologize in advance. So I'm just gonna go to the answer and then explain from there. For this one, it'll be a bit easier. The answer to this one is duration. The reason it's duration is because of this word incessantly. Incessantly means repeatedly, over and over, nearly nonstop. That is why that is going to be incessantly, repeated over and over, nonstop. A behavior we use with rate needs to have a clear beginning and end. Now, when there's a clear beginning and end, then you can use rate. If it's happening incessantly, that means there's typically not a clear beginning and end. Think about when you are working with a client that engages in like rapid SIB or rapid aggression. Probably you're not going to be able to say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 because it's happening so quickly. Therefore, we can use a duration to track the episode. And if that duration increases, we know the behavior happened more. And if that duration decreases, we know the behavior happened less. So for behaviors that happen at high rates, or in this case, incessantly, then duration is going to be an appropriate measure. So that's why duration is. I'm going to go back to the last question. I got a few questions in the chat about they don't see a, there's a couple people that just don't think that rate could work because they don't see a time period. You can take any observation period and split it up into intervals, right? So I can do the rate per 10 minutes. I can do the rate per minute. I can do the rate per 30 seconds. When you can use either, and if you have an observation period, you can use either, right? You should pick rate. This is not saying which one did you use. It's saying which one do you likely use. So which one would you use? In that case, you're going to go with rate and you're just going to pick observation periods. You would take the total observation period if that's an hour and you would do per 10 minutes because if you can do it like that, then you can extrapolate. This is where the math stuff comes in, but you can extrapolate that data and you can say that it likely is happening every 10 minutes at that rate because you were able to get a good sample size. So you don't need to see the observation period in the scenario to know that you have. We know that we're observing and you can always split it up. And that's how we decide if it's the best measure. So cool. Well, that's that. I hope this is helpful. I'm going to stop sharing, answer any questions that y'all have. Turn my screen on so you can see my face. I need to shave, so I apologize. Cool. So that's count. That is rate, all of that fun stuff. I hope that makes things a little bit more clear. I'm going to go in, for those of you that are on iPhones, if you don't mind just putting your name in the chat because there's like 4 or 5 iPhones and I can't put your name into my wheel of names to give you a free mini mock. So if you don't mind, just if you're on an iPhone and your name is iPhone, if you could put your name in the chat real quick so I can put you into my thing. Great. Cool. Good. No worries. I'm putting the person as sorry driving is driving in my thing. Okay, so there's a question and then I'm gonna spin. All the iPhones put their names, so I appreciate it. Oh, hold on one second. Okay, cool. This question says an analyst is measuring how many times her client mans for a preferred item during a session. She is using in its blank measure. I would say direct measure or continuous measure would be my answer for that. But it's not an option. Frequency.
No, it's not. I got this one wrong.
No worries. Frequency, rate, Charleston criteria, and percentage. What did you pick and why?
I chose frequency because I'm not seeing like a per, or I'm not seeing a measure of time. It just says during a session. So to me, they were mentioning
Whose question is this?
study ABA.
Yeah, I would agree. This is a rate, right? So if we go back to my definition, and
Yeah, can you explain that? Because it was a rate.
Yeah,
I thought you just meant for frequency. I thought you just have to measure when you did the.
No, I agree
data.
with you. I agree with you. I think this is a frequency. This is not a rate.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the reason it's not a rate is, again, when I look at the definition, and sorry, you guys are seeing the background of the slides, but when you look at this, the definition is a simple tally of the number of occurrences of a behavior. The observation period or counting time should be noted. This is just saying in a session, right? Counting the times her client mans for preferred items during a session. It's not saying per session. It's not saying on average each session. That does not meet the definition of rate. It does, however, meet the definition of count when you include this. A lot of people don't, and that's a severe mistake. But I'm going to turn exactly to the page so you all can, I mean, I hope you trust me, but you don't need to trust me. You can just turn to 789 in the Cooper book, and it's in the glossary. So 789 in the Cooper book, and that'll give you that definition. Cool.
So sorry, Miko. I'm asking a question because I felt like this question kind of aligned with like either your second question today, and I think you called it rate 2. I don't know. I'm not real clear now. I'm getting mixed up.
My second question.
One question right.
No. My second question was count, right? Because it's in an hour. So this is the observation period.
Okay.
Yep, this is the observation period. This is the number of instances. So this is what the definition of count is. Does that make sense?
Okay.
Good.
Okay.
Cool.
So when are you going to post this to YouTube so I can share it with my study group?
I'll post it tomorrow.
Thank you.
Sweet. Okay, cool. So let me spin the wheel of names. For those of you asking about the all you need or the marathon, it is in everyone's accounts. We just didn't change the recording because it's the same one as the previous one. For people who purchased it individually, we did change the recording, but in the all you need, it's the same. So it didn't make sense to duplicate it. We will be doing another one in the fall or in the winter, so it'll be a little bit different, but cool. All right, our winner today, and there's a lot of people, so let's see. Miss Elise, are you still here? Oh, I think Elise left. Yep, Miss Elise left. Must be present to win. Second chance. That's too bad. She was the first one on the call too. All right, our second winner is Miss Erin. Miss Erin? Is there a Miss Erin? Yes, good. Okay. Miss Erin, can you do me a favor? Can you email me? I'm gonna put my email in the chat. And if you guys ever have questions, you can also email me, but this is specifically for her. If you could email me, miko@behavioranalystsupervisor.com. And I will either, if you don't have an account, I'll create an account for you and add a mini mock. If you do have an account, I'll just add the mini mock to your account. So if you don't mind just emailing me, you do have an account. Perfect. So just email me and I'll add the free mini mock to your account. So I appreciate y'all. I hope this is helpful as always. I will post the recording tomorrow and I will see everyone soon. If you ever have questions, don't hesitate to reach out. All right. Bye, y'all.